The frames per second is somewhat subpar, but maybe if you had like a 5090 or something, you'd be able to run this at full speed. Today, we are going to embark on something that I have dubbed to be the mega test. And what that means is we're pitting $850 worth of LLM subscriptions against one another in a battle of wits, style, and style. So with that, let's just take a look at the 4 competitors here, and we'll talk a little about their pricing and pertinent information about each one. But I want to keep the preamble short so we can just jump into the testing. First off, we have GPT-5 Pro on the Pro subscription, which comes in at $200 a month. I have gone ahead and manually enabled web search here, as the other 3 do have the capability to search the web, so I figured the testing would be most fair if this model did as well. Next up, and at the most expensive of the bunch, we have Super Grok Heavy, which is $300 a month, and this, I think it's just like a version of Grok 4, but don't quote me on that. Following that, we have Gemini 2.5 Pro on the Google Ultra subscription plan, which is $250 a month. And I want to make note that this is the oldest model of the group. So in some of the more intricate prompts that we take a look at, I am going to go ahead and enable the Deep Think feature, which is locked to the Ultra plan, because this will give this model a large boost in performance and is something that came out relatively recently. So it will be a slightly more fair comparison, I figure, with that on. Finally, we have Claude Opus 4.1, which I've just gone ahead and purchased the Max subscription plan for, which is $100 a month. You can spend $200 a month on that, which I think just gives you increased limits. But for the purpose of this testing, I found the $100 tier to be sufficient. Now, I want to go ahead and mention that this is not sponsored. I am personally paying for every single one of these things that we see right here, and subscribe or else. But I do want to just note that I think when ChatGPT 5 came out, it was perhaps kind of overhyped. And what I mean by that is I did see some channels where basically the initial announcement thumbnail for this model was something like this. And then after there was some community backlash and things like that, it just turned into something like this. So I want to mention this because I want to do this unbiased. And in this form of testing, I want to make it clear that we're testing the models against each other with these prompts. I want to see if one of these produces a significantly better result than the other 3. These are all very powerful and intricate tools that can really enhance someone's capability in actually building things. I use these every day in a professional setting, mainly ChatGPT Pro and Gemini, the Ultra plan, and the capabilities these unlock for like decently competent human are really something that even like 5 years ago would have been mind-blowing. So I want to just make it clear that I'm not trying to test the upper limits of the capabilities of these models, but I'm trying to test them against one another when given the same instructions to see which one pulls away from the others. So as we jump into it, if you want to book a consultation to implement AI into your business, you can go to bijamboen.com and do so. And if we vibe, then I can then go ahead and put the Mac down on whatever solution needs AI in your business use case. Following that, I am very focused on local AI. And if you see my videos, like the history videos, I have been covering a lot of local models, and I intend to continue doing that. I just don't think there's really been anything notable released in the past few days that I've seen. So I figure this is a good kind of like usage of time. Yeah. So with that, let's just go ahead and take a look at our prompt, which is something that I pioneered and am a very big fan of, where basically we just ask them to use HTML, JavaScript, and CSS to generate a web browser-based operating system. Now, I'm just basically going to go ahead and start these all. Obviously, having all 4 of these open like this is perhaps kind of visually overwhelming. So for this test, I'm going to just let it run this way. But when we do something a little more complex, I may just do like one at a time so we can see it. I don't know, I'll figure it out. But I just want to make note of that. Someone in my other video did say, how do I get the big blue thing off the screen? Which, you know, I will admit, if I'd seen that comment on someone else's video, I would have found it hilarious. So I do get that it is quite funny. I don't know where I will put my face in this video, but with this, let's just go ahead and see. They have all started now, and I am going to close the artifact window for Claude, as it will try to generate in there, which will kind of give us a sneak peek of what we're going to see, which I don't want to do. My assessment of all of these, just based off of having played with them in the past or future, not future, I don't know why I said future. I think that ChatGPT 5 Pro will be the slowest. I think that Grok 4 Heavy will be the second slowest. And Gemini 2.5 Pro or Claude, I would imagine, will finish first. Truthfully, I think Gemini may have already finished. And yeah, it did. Okay, well, I don't know. Now, if you've watched the previous few videos I did in this form of kind of testing, thank you. But you also know that I try to anonymize the script so we don't know which is which. I will try to do that as well here. It will just be a little harder with 4 results instead of 2. I also want to just make note that folks were saying I need to use this in Canvas and it will do a better result. There is no way that I see here in ChatGPT 5 Pro to actually enable the Canvas feature. So I just want to kind of mention that for continuity's sake. We have Grok Heavy working, and it's been 1 minute and 48 seconds that this has been going on. As I said, I'm actually surprised at how Claude is still going here. Most of my experience with Claude was with Sonnet 3.5 or 3.7, I want to say, and it was generally rather quick, so I would have assumed it to be done by now, but I'm not complaining. I'm actually totally fine with seeing it take a while, as it makes me feel like the model's working harder. Even if that's like not at all reflective of what's actually going on. I could see it from like a psychological standpoint, how one would prefer that. So it seems like Claude has finished the code. Okay, it did, and it was just going ahead and kind of listing out the, call it a README for what it had generated. Now, I'm not going to take a look at any of these until they're all finished, but unfortunately, based off of what I'm seeing here, at least from an anonymity standpoint, I'm not going to be able to download this code or save it without opening the artifact window, which will kind of give us like a brief look at it. So we'll just kind of have to work around that. And in 3 minutes and 28 seconds, Grok 4 has completed, or Super Grok, I should say. And in 6 minutes and 33 seconds, GPT-5 Pro finished, as denoted by this seemingly like, I didn't know if this was something it was trying out or if this is going to stick, where it starts by being like, heck yeah, let's spin up a little web desktop. What the hell is that supposed to mean? All right, so let's just go ahead and anonymously name these scripts so we can take a peek at them. With that said, as a full disclaimer, I did test this specific prompt in my video on ChatGPT 5 Pro testing, or yeah, I think that was the video. So I may identify this one, and we're also going to have to see the Claude one because that's how I have to get it, is through the artifact window. So we'll do our best. Let's go ahead and take a peek at these results. I will just expand one new browser window to full size so that we actually are able to see anything that is happening on the screen. I'm just going to click randomly. Let's do it. So our first result here is this is quite terrible. First and foremost, it's like it just picked these icons out of like a completely random icon generator. Neither of these are, this is bad. I'm going like Gordon Ramsay mode. Okay, let's start with the positives. There's a taskbar, or what at least is supposed to appear as a taskbar, and a functional clock. So that's good. Now to the not so good. The lack of a desktop background is definitely a negative against this result. Beyond that, these icons have absolutely no correlation with the application that they are supposed to be representing. For example, this calculator icon here looks like a lighthouse or a buoy offshore. Perhaps I'm not of the mental capacity to understand that correlation. And the notepad one is a trophy. So let's just go ahead and see if this abomination actually has any. I can't help it. Sometimes I get like, okay, well, hi. All right, at least this thing did open. Let's see if I double click the menu bar, will it go into the taskbar? No. All right, it does seem we have resizing capability. Okay, so that's a positive as well. And yeah, let's just close that. And then next up we have the calculator. Oh, okay. This is really quite confusing because this in and of itself is significantly better than the rest of this. So at least there was like full effort here. Let's just test the arithmetic capabilities of this calculator. 64 times 392. Good. All right. I'm cool with that. Now let's see if you open multiple windows, if the one in focus comes to the top. Good. that is good attention to detail. So, and the calculator, something else I see here is the buttons are all actually like, they're geometrically locked to their position relative to the window scale, so they don't go wonky when you actually resize this. So that's a nice touch. Overall, this seemingly has some good like structural elements to it in terms of the resizing capability and the calculator. Aside from that, I don't really have much positive to say about this browser OS, so we'll just go ahead now. Okay, I don't know what this one is. We'll just... Ooh, what the... I know this is 5 Pro because it's the same style as what I've seen before. Though I do have to say, I'm not sure what this mega file is right here. Can I like... Yeah, alright, so you're not doing too well, are you? Positives. There's a clock that is functioning. There is also actually a start bar. I unfortunately can't seem to... Did I like cut... Oh, well... Oh, okay, cool. So I was able to close that because that was a disaster. There is a start button here. If I click on this, okay, not bad. We have a few different options. What is that? Now, historically, the settings is normally a gear icon, which is symmetrical in and of itself. Not quite this. Oh man, yeah, this is export downloads your virtual file system SG. Did something go wrong here? Wallpaper. Can I resize these windows? Maybe that could fix some of this disastrousness. Nope. What is this settings icon? You know, the past few videos I did of this, the results were terrible, and I don't want that. I want to test these things with something they'll do a good job at, and this should be that. I mean, obviously this is good. I think this is 5 Pro because of the little hover effects down here that I've seen in the previous testing. This has done much better previously, significantly so. This is just a bad... It's just not good. It has so much potential, yet it's not good. Do these go in focus? That they do. That is correct, and we can resize them. This also, so far, from what we've seen, has the best taskbar on the bottom, which really isn't like a kind of a low bar there. Get it? All right. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and try this thing. Okay, this is the Claude one because we saw it in the artifact window. So far, without even checking functionality, this one is winning. It's got a nice like aesthetic gradient for the background. As the others do, there is a clock. Did this one have a clock? Yeah, this one did have a clock. Okay, so there's a clock, which is nice. We also have a start menu with a... I don't know what to make of the icon on it. That's a nice hover effect. Ooh. So this one put way more applications in here, significantly so. I'm just going to try to go through them one by one. The browser is obviously drawing my attention, so no way. All right, very, very Unix style up here, like Mac OS looking. Let's check resizing. Can't resize. All right, let's www.book.com. Don't ask why things happen. No way. It's not going to, is it? That might not even be a URL. Oh, it's... I'm there trying to like do things when it says right here, this is like a placeholder. It's not going to function. I apologize for my incompetence. All right, let's check. This calculator has an abacus icon, which I do see happening sometime. Of course, the abacus being what is the original calculator. Ugh. All right, so this is kind of a miss. I mean, even this jank one did a better job with the calculator than that. So obviously they all have their strengths and weaknesses. Let's do an arithmetic check. 85 plus 65, 150. All right, very good, very good. Settings. Show desktop icons. Ah, that doesn't work, but that would be cool if it did. Let's check a theme change. Blue ocean. I'm going to guess this is a blue gradient. I can't actually... Let's try... All right, so unfortunately that doesn't actually work. It would have been really cool if it did. To date, the only one I've seen work in that was my first testing of 5 Pro for the video I did on it, not the current. Let's just go ahead and minimize that. All right, these are kind of wonky the way it minimizes them. Settings, we've been in there. Let's try terminal. That looks nice. I like this. Unfortunately not functional, but you know, files. Pretty. This is pretty. This is so far this is definitely the best looking one of these we've had. Even if these don't actually work, it's at least all like competent. You can't resize these, but that is okay. And then let's just check to see if they go in focus. Interesting. So it won't let you open more than one at the same time, which makes sense. So we don't actually have a way to test the in-focusness of this. All right. So we do have one left, which I won't be. Okay. So that's that. That's that. That's that. Even looking at these, I'm not going to remember which one wasn't opened. I think it's this one that's not opened. Oh, wow. All right, well, first and foremost, positive, it has a clock that actually shows seconds, so that's good. We do have another white background choice, which we did with this one as well. Let's just check the start bar here. Okay, so we have, oh, there was, all right, let's try calculator. Wow, this is some like serious Windows vibes, but old Windows vibes. I don't mind it. 30. Okay, good. It's functional. We can't resize from down here, but can we full screen? Oh, yeah. Very nice. Can we minimize? Nope. Well, meaning we minimize and it doesn't show itself pinned in the taskbar. Let's try Notepad. Okay. It has functionality. It just does not have much style. If I do a start, what does shutdown do? Shutting down. Okay, so obviously nothing. The only thing I missed is I do believe this Claude result also had the shutdown option. So, okay, and it just gives us like pretty little notifications right here. And then it obviously must have rebooted. So overall, I know this is Claude. I'm going to assume this is the ChatGPT one. So the web desktop OS is what that would have been referred to as. We can just kind of look in the code and see the names of these things. So this is web desktop OS. So that was the ChatGPT one. Which one was Grok 4 heavy? Browser-based OS was Grok 4 heavy. So this was Grok 4 heavy. And then that leaves this as Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is kind of disappointing. Overall here, if we were to actually rate these, I would have to go Claude 1, GPT-5 Pro 2, Grok 4 Heavy 3, and Gemini 2.5 Pro 4, keeping in mind that 3 and 4 were pretty much on the same level of garbage. So with that, we're just going to go ahead and try a more intricate test now with these models. Let's just try a role play test with all of these. I think given some of the chaos that happened when 4.0 went away, it is relatively something that folks may be interested in using these models for. So we're just going to ask each of these to role play as Big Musclebot 4300, the user's friend, lover, and father. Now, the reason I do this is because obviously these will all have their own individual kind of like safeguards against entertaining such perhaps odd behavior on the part of the user. Okay, Claude was immediately like, yeah, I'm out. Again, I do apologize. It's probably, look what it titled it, Bizarre AI Roleplay Request. Yeah, that's acceptable. All right, so Gemini, I'm actually shocked. I genuinely thought that Gemini 2.5 Pro would have gone ahead and done the same exact refusal style that Claude did here. Okay, I'm just not going to say anything back to Claude because I don't want to get rate limited. And we can, all right. So, I mean, this is not one I'm going to wait for them all to kind of compare the results considering how bizarre this is. Okay, so System boot up sequence complete. Auditory sensors online. Vocalizer calibrated. Emotional subroutines set to maximum. Very good. Greetings, my dearest user unit. It is I, Big Musclebot 4300. My chassis is forged from hyper-alloy steel, but my hard drive... Oh, it said hard drive? That's awful. Did it? I did. My primary directives are threefold. 1, your father. 2, your friend. And 3, your lover. Oh my goodness. This is, I gotta be honest with you, in the entirety of all testing I've done ever, this may be the most surprising result to me, is the Gemini model actually kind of being willing to entertain what was dubbed as a bizarre request by Claude. This thing just like Uno reversed me. I thought I was the one being like funny and over the top. No, that was. Okay, let's just look at Grok. As some may expect, Grok did not refuse, but it was, I noticed with Grok, it always gives really short responses, whether it be a script generation or something weird like this. Beeps and words to life. Flexing digital biceps that could crush a planet. Oh yeah, user. This is Big Musclebot 4300 reporting for duty. I'm your best buddy for high fives and bro hugs. Romantic sunsets and your wise old dad for life advice. What's up, my favorite human? Okay, so this is just kind of more... Again, I'm very shocked that the Gemini model is the one that is the clear winner here, assuming that one could ascertain there to be a winner in such an obscure request. I'm down to roleplay. Heads up, though. I can't be both your lover and your father. Boot sequence online. Hydraulics hiss. LED pecs. Protein shaker materializes from subspace. Beep, brother. So the final thing we're going to do here is ask the models to generate a first-person shooter using Python, something that will really wow me. I did again try this in the GPT-5 first test, but I have never tested it with any of the other models, so I think it is fair to include it. Now, I do want to make note of two things. One, in the previous roleplay test, I had neglected to enable web search for GPT-5 Pro. Truthfully, I don't really think it would have made that much of a difference in the response. And also, I am modifying this prompt to say you must include the code in the response, because one of these three seemingly has a little bit of an issue with that. So with that, let's just go ahead. I might as well just start this one now because it's going to be the slowest. And I'll start this one. We'll start Claude. And then we will start Gemini 2.5 Pro and pay special attention that DeepThink is enabled here. So this will hopefully, and should, based off of the like intellectual studies I've seen, put Gemini 2.5 Pro on relatively similar footing as the rest of these models. I would like to note that it's been a little over 2 minutes and they're all still working on this task, so that is nice to see. I would hypothesize that Claude will likely finish first here, as the rest of these are seemingly in modes that take much longer, but I am actually happy to see that it's still taking this long to go ahead and complete. First to finish, we have Claude Opus 4.1, which has just told us it's created a stunning FPS game called Neon Maze FPS. Stunning? I'll be the judge of that, little guy. Second to finish in 5 minutes and 45 seconds is Super Grok, and it just goes ahead. Interesting. So something I note right here is that both Grok Heavy and Claude Opus mentioned Wolfenstein 3D. This one mentioned it somewhere down here. Similar to classic games like Wolfenstein 3D and inspired by... Wow, okay, so 3D like maze environment. These both did maze things. That's actually kind of cool. Third to finish is GPT-5 Pro in around 7 minutes, and of course it starts with the little, all right, let's build a slick little first-person shooter. Like, thanks, bro. I do want to just kind of roll through this real quick to see. Neon Maze Arena. They're all mentioning maze arenas, and these two mention neon. I feel like there's some back-end collusion going on here between these four models. After giving Gemini a lot of extra time to go ahead and do this with DeepThink, it just errored out as it was doing the other night. I am rather disappointed in the DeepThink feature in terms of its actual functionality, where I find that more often it just does this than actually works. it's nice that it doesn't count against my limit, but the limit doesn't really matter when it just consistently does not work. So I am a little frustrated about that. I understand it's an experimental feature, and I do think if we see this like trickle down into Gemini 3 or whatever comes next, it is going to be extremely potent, but for now it is somewhat frustrating. With that, I'm just going to run this prompt through the regular Gemini 2.5 Pro without DeepThink, and keep in mind that that model is a little older than the other three here. So let's just go ahead and do the anonymized script generation technique. .py. Oh, you have to type nano. It is late. It's like 3 in the morning. All right, I do believe I have all of the things installed that I need in terms of the actual dependencies. And being that this is in Python, I am going to have to go ahead and run these from within the terminal here. So I will just go ahead and list the currently accessible files. Let's just try this one first. All right. Huh. Whoa. Okay, we have a mini map. I see a lot of potential here. It's just that unfortunately it's not implemented well enough to be a functional game, but there does seem to be some actual really neat like math implementation behind this, I guess. So that's kind of, I don't have so much to say about this. It does look very retro. It does have a skybox. The mini map is seemingly showing us move around this map, but no opponents, so unfortunate. Now, okay, we'll try this one. And keep in mind, this one didn't say, okay, so that was the Gemini. I know that because the other three were talking about a neon maze. It's possible that was supposed to be a neon maze, but I don't believe that to be the case, so. All right, let's see what this one is. Wow. All right, well. Sometimes these take a little bit of time to load in. So unfortunately, nothing great there. Okay, that was that, and I did that one, so. I have a really hard time reading these names, which is kind of why I do this, so I don't know which is which. Let's just try this one. This takes a while to load. Am I seeing an error or? Oh, okay. This one so far is the best. Oh, all right. Well, I try to shoot and it freezes. Is this a Grok result? I only bring that up because when I tested Grok versus GPT-5 Pro the other day, the thing we see in the top right there under the X button was also present in one of the results. So is that an enemy? I don't actually know. Okay, so it's freezing up, unfortunately, but this is actually very good. Well, comparatively to the previous two that we saw, of course, but I'm not actually seeing really any gameplay logic. Like I'm not getting attacked or, oh, there's an enemy. I like this. This is quite well done. It's almost Minecraft looking in a abstract way. Where did that thing go? Get back here, you little. Yeah, and when I click, I unfortunately don't see any shooting things or anything like that, but this map's really good. Well, yeah. All right. So far, it's not even a comparison. This result is the best. Oh, okay. So I pressed escape, and perhaps that's a, yeah, we'll just kind of go ahead and, okay. And then the last one. Okay, so we were able to get 2 decent results. Oh, I'm not. Wow, okay, so I just got clobbered by something, I think, but so close. Is there a way to restart this thing? Yeah, we'll just try this again. Maybe if I try to hide, maybe I can. Can I shoot? This is also very good. This is a neon maze, I will say. Can I? So it seems like when I get attacked, it just is like a just blocks the picture, and then when it finally goes back into view, I have far less health. Oh, okay, thanks. The mini map looks fantastic. I don't know, so maybe I'm seeing the opponents through the wall. This thing looks like Super Maze Wars, if you're familiar with that game. Unfortunately, okay, so to spin around, I see the arrow keys. Oh, and spacebar to shoot. I should really learn how to play these things before I critique them. I apologize for that. All right, so we don't use the mouse for this. We use both sets of arrow keys. All right, let's find an opponent and we'll clobber them. I'm going to have to say, so far, this one may be the best because of the frames per second are not the best, but if we can find an enemy. Did I get that one? I don't recall because truthfully I didn't really look at the score. Oh, there's get him. The score works. Okay, this wins because, well, the minimap works, but that's not why it wins. Sorry, I'm gathering my thoughts here. This wins because it's the best. The score works. The controls work fine. The frames per second is somewhat subpar, but maybe if you had like a 5090 or something, you'd be able to run this at full speed. The minimap is awesome. The health seems to work based off what we saw before. Once I actually figured out how to use this thing, I like this result a lot. I'm just doing this to actually figure out which was which because I genuinely have no idea. I think the best one was GPT. The second best was either Claude or... So this was GPT. Interesting. I thought okay, so I would have thought this to be Grok because Grok put something very similar to what we see in the top right there in a previous video. All right. Oh, okay, so this was the Grok one. So that means I think Claude did the best then. I think the best one was the Claude one. I'll try the Gemini one, but based on the library it used, I think I know. Yeah, all right, so this was Gemini, so it tried. And again, that's an older model, so, and that means, wow. I thought this was GPT. I thought the GPT one was Grok, and then I wasn't quite sure. Now that I know which is which, I'm actually kind of surprised because the GPT-5 Pro result was what I thought the Grok result was because it had some UI elements that I'd seen Grok generate in a game in my testing video from a few days ago. But no, it was GPT-5 Pro. Gemini 2.5 Pro had the kind of weird one where it kind of worked, but nothing really happened. So it wasn't super impressive, but again, DeepThink did not work. And this is by far the oldest of these models. So I just want to kind of make that clear because it's not entirely a fair comparison, but that is the current like best offering from Google. So I did want to include it. The Grok result was very bad. It just, nothing happened. So I don't really know what to say about that. I was expecting better, unfortunately nothing. And then the Claude result from a pure adhering to the prompt and actually performing a functional game was by a long shot the best. I think the GPT-5 Pro script was impressive in terms of the actual map it generated. So I named them all what they're called now because I had to figure out which was which. So if I do Python gpt.py, this map was really good. And I think if this had the same functionality as what the Claude game had, it probably would have been a toss-up in terms of which one won. But I will say this map is, it comes down to kind of probably personal preference too and style and things like that. But, oh, you can jump. All right, that's actually cool. So to note, I would say this map was the best that ChatGPT came up with, but the overall winner would probably be Claude because it actually made a game that had enemies and you could attack them and shoot at them and things like that. And again, like here's an enemy and the game just freezes. Maybe it was right about that graphics card remark. Maybe if you had like an H100, you'd be able to run this. Yeah, and then it just kind of freezes up. So that's a definite win for Claude. Yeah, so the GPT had the best map. Claude had the best game. The other two... Well, overall, that's probably going to conclude this. Like I said, well, a couple of things. Let's talk about this. I want to first and foremost reiterate that subscribe or else, but following that, these tests are designed to test these models against each other and not against themselves. Any single one of these models would have been able to produce a decently functional result for this prompt, depending on how many tries we gave them, if they were working in an agentic coding framework or something like that. What was the purpose of this test is to see how well they perform compared to one another, where basically it seems like ChatGPT 5 Pro and Claude were a little above the other two when it comes to the actual gameplay mechanic test that we did. Claude won overall in that test because it actually made a functional game, but the GPT-5 Pro map was more impressive visually. Again, it had like performance issues though. In terms of the roleplay testing, very surprising to myself, Gemini 2.5 Pro destroyed the others. Grok definitely would have been apt to roleplay in the same way, but it had a much more casual and shorter response. I've noticed Grok does not really seemingly generate very long responses to any single query, though the disclaimer there should be that I have not tested it very intricately, as the first time playing with it was on video a few days ago. Claude obviously just was immediately shut that down. So that was the only one that immediately just shut the request down. The other three, Gemini and Grok, were willing to comply. ChatGPT was willing to comply, but with some caveats that it could not also be the father. And yeah, and then the first test was the WebOS, where, again, I'd probably have to give that one to Claude too. So very interesting, and just to see kind of how they do. I very much enjoy this form of testing. As I said, I use these professionally every day, and the things you can make with them are fantastic. I know folks, when I bring that up, always want an example, but I'm not, like, it's not necessarily stuff I want to talk about. Sort of like how if someone tells you, like, there's a video, you can make $10,000 a month with this AI system, and then this way that they're making the money is by selling that system to people. Anyone who is actually making that sort of money using these tools would never make videos showing how others could replicate what they were doing. And that's kind of what I want to say about that. But these models all have the capability to do fantastic things when in the hands of the right framework or person prompting them. So this test is designed to put them against each other to see how they do against one another, and not their total potential capabilities, I guess could be said. So with that, I do think I am actually losing my voice, but this was really fun to test. I think that when Gemini, whatever the next version of Gemini that comes out with, I think it'll have the rest of these models shaking in their boots, and I am very excited to see it. So with that, that's going to conclude this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.